Okay, the first step in making your floor desk bottom is making a floor desk bottom, making it too long, and also realizing when you put your acrylic floor or acrylic desktop over it that it flexes too much. You need to make beams going across to support it. I already had this acrylic in my dad's garage that was sitting there. If I didn't have this piece, I would have used a piece of plywood. Now I'm disassembling the desk bottom. For the bigger piece, I realized that I should use a scrap piece of wood to protect the plank from my hammer in case I want to reuse that. Because that piece is a recycled fence board and they're prone to splitting. When I was cleaning up the stretcher, this piece that I'm measuring right now, I left extra length on it just in case, but then I forgot to cut it off before assembly, which is why it ended up being longer than my acrylic desktop. So I'm measuring it to see if I can just cut the part with nails off and have my length ready to use. Now that my piece is at the desired length of 46 inches, it looks like I'm just giving it a quick sand. I'm now cleaning up some leftover Home Depot boards, which is Home Depot 2x4s, which is to say manage your expectations, but I'm cutting them into 1 3/8 square pieces. I end up jointing this one board, and when I go to cut it, I forget to lock my table saw fence, but thankfully I realize my mistake and fix it. I'm able to salvage the piece on the right. Despite my attempts to salvage it, the piece on the left is no good. I'm grabbing my other board to do more of the same, clean up this shitty Home Depot board, and I don't like this crack that's right there, so I'm gonna measure the rest of my board to see if I have enough length to cut it straight off. It looked like I had enough length, so I cut the correct part straight off and cut everything else to length. In future videos, I'm going to try and say what I think at the time into my GoPro and not do a voiceover. I'm curious to see how that goes. I'd also be very happy to keep an upload schedule of once a week. Here I'm scribbling pencil mark all over this piece of wood because I see all the YouTubers doing it, so I decided to give it a try. I'm checking to see which way this board is curved and putting the concave side downward on the jointer. I should have watched a YouTube video to refresh on how to use a joiner because I ended up going overboard and joining way too much, and I sort of charged blindly, boorishly, and Ended up with a lot of boring footage of me boring into this wooden board. Oof. I really did end up joining too much, but it won't be a problem, as you'll see later. My board is slanted right now on one side. This joiner is on wheels, so I'm trying to shove something behind it so that it doesn't roll, because if there's too much resistance on the piece you're using, it will start to roll forward, and it is infuriating. I might make a video in the future or off video and replace the casters with ones that lock at least. I'm cutting this piece to length now, which is going to be 46 minus 2 times 1 and 3/8, which is 46 minus 2 and 6/8, which is 46 minus 2 and 3/4, which is 43 and a quarter. These pieces are going to be running across the top, supporting my acrylic board from flexing. Now that it's cut to length, I started to mess about with the joiner again, doing the skinnier side, the width side. I'm truly not sure if I accomplished anything here, but let's just say that I did. Looks like I haven't finished playing with the joiner yet. On the flat side, I'm just joining way too much. I'm picking out some sap in here because this is pretty fresh wood. Yeah, hopefully it doesn't drip all over my floor here at home because I have my desk set up. We'll see how it is. I tried lighting it for fun. It did not light, but I have gotten that sap to light before. Yay, fire. I finished up cutting the cross pieces to size. I don't know where that footage went, but there they are. And I've picked up some pieces of mystery scrap wood, and they seem to be the right size. So I'm also going to check one of them here for pieces of metal before I use it on the table saw with a little handheld metal detector. Although I guess I should have done that before cutting it at all. Better late than never. I already realized that my other longer pieces are slanted, so I am careful with the joiner now. I think I'm just doing a few passes and I'm making sure that it's not going too thin. And then I also just hit it with the planer a little bit, like I am supposed to, and I'm having fun learning how to use this pencil scribble technique, although there's not much to learn, but it's I never have used it before. Now I'm just going to strip these down to size, and Bob's your uncle. Now I'm cutting them down to their final length. I left a little bit on because because my dad told me to. So I've been doing that ever since. But it makes sense to do that in case something gets chipped off or something weird happens. You just have to not forget to do it like I did the first time. The pieces that I have cut just now are actually supporting pieces for my legs widthwise. You'll see what I'm talking about in just a second before I start assembling, but I don't know what happened to the footage because I don't think a GoPro is supposed to be left on for that long, but I have all of my legs. Those are all the pieces for my legs. So they've already been cut. I must have used the lengths that I was processing in the beginning to cut all those pieces, but I just don't have the footage. Never mind, I found that footage immediately. Here's me cleaning up as I go and then cutting the pieces into their lengths. You can see me flipping these longer uncut pieces around and inspecting them. I'm just taking a look and deciding which I think will be best for table legs. Given the corners of every piece of my legs a quick sand before I assemble. And here I smartly go and decide to sit my ass down. After sanding all the pieces, I am testing everything out and I'm excited to get ready to assemble. This piece right here, I don't know if you can see, has a bit of an arch compared to if I lay it flat. Is that flatter? Yeah. So I'm gonna lay this. I'm gonna attach it on its side so that the arch is shaped like this inward. And then when I attach this in place, going right here, it should pull that arch straight. That's the plan. Now I'm attaching squares. I'm using clamps because I'm not sure. I don't have any better ideas than this to get it to be square. And when you're using warpy pine, just forcing it to be square when you attach it, I find to work best. I also later realized that I think I'm drilling these pilot holes a little bit too deep. Some of them throughout this project were stripping. And if you saw that there, I just used a countersink drill bit to create a little countersink hole. I don't know what they're called. I don't know if that's the right word for it, but it allows the head of the nail, the tip, to lay flush. Now I'm putting in the cross beam, the supporting beam, and I grabbed some pieces of the scrap that I cut off of the same pieces of wood. And then I'm just using those as spacers. I end up finagling around with this for quite a while, and I cut the same piece in half just to be sure that they're the same size, and just fitting them in as spacers. And then I'm gonna attach the clamps and the square like I did earlier, and drill it in from the outside. I'm doing the other side now, and I'm messing around with this piece again to see if there's one side that it's rocking towards, or one side that has a pretty explicit curve that I want to face on the inside. And now I'm hunting down a silverfish. Fuck silverfish. And I think that's it. I think we can skip the rest of this because it went pretty smoothly. I have my stretchers here. They can also be called beams, but stretcher is more specific for furniture and for beams that support furniture horizontally, which is something I learned about 30 seconds ago. And I am cutting this thinner one to match perfectly with my thick one here. We're gonna see in a second, but I end up not using the thick one after all. Now I'm attaching this board as a stretcher, which I end up taking off later, so I'm gonna skip all this. I'm putting in this stretcher piece just to check the fit, and I'm also gonna check the fit of my cross beams here. These are meant to support my acrylic desktop because it was flexing a little bit without these pieces. And you can see that it's quite arched, and I'm going to put the arch concave facing downward because the arch is going to be strong and it is going to help support my desktop, as well as it's going to be weighed down flat because of all the things on my desk. And right about here, I realize I don't need this piece because the cross beams that I previously didn't have are going to be supporting the front side of my desk, so I don't need that extra stretcher on the front. And you can see for both of these pieces, they're going to have one spot that didn't get stripped properly right here because I was planing or jointing too much and ended up with a plank that was a little bit trapezoidal. So those pieces, when I went to strip them, didn't get stripped all the way on one side. And I'm going to face that ugly side towards the back, and I'm going to have the arch concave side downward, and that's going to be the direction in which I'm putting these cross beams in. After spending some time deciding on where I wanted to place the beams along the end stretchers, I'm now installing them. I ended up having to redo the screws for one of the sides because it was so heavily bowed that I had to press it down really hard when making the pilot holes and putting in the screws. And I had to go back and redo one of them because it was so bowed it was pushing back up quite a bit. So I do this for all the sides, and I am finished, or so I think. Here's what it looks like right now. Measured this way, 46 1/8. And this way measures 50. The diagonal measurements don't match, which means it's not perfectly square, but it's good enough for me. So I take it home to test it and realize that my feet get caught on this backboard, the stretcher, and I want my feet to be able to go against the wall. So I end up bringing it back and taking that off, but I had glued it, which is I had to hammer it off like so, and spent a while doing my best to just clean this up a little bit, but it's still pretty messy. But I don't really see it ever because there's a bunch of shit on my desk. After taking off the wide stretcher and scraping off what I could, I wasn't sure what to do next, how to proceed. I was going to make another beam as a stretcher, the 1 by 3/8 beams that I have going across the top. And that's when my dad came in and was like, "Hey, what you doing?" So I explained to him my predicament, and then he said, just use this and put it on the back. And I said, "Oh, that's a good idea." And that's the video, that's the build. Here it is with all my shit on it. Yay.